Hey everyone, welcome back to the Data Pour. I'm Steve McLaughlin, Head of Data at EPON Technologies. My guest today is Fiona Towner, Head of Data at Luck Companies.
Thanks,
Fiona, thank you for joining us. Today we're at Hardywood, West Creek, out on the west side of Richmond, Virginia. So, shall we head in and grab some beers? All right. One of my favorite beer places in Richmond, Hardywood, right out here in West Creek. Do you frequent this?
We come a couple times a year as a team building exercise. This is where I actually drank my first beer of Richmond, so really excited.
What was it? What was the first beer?
It was that's the trick right there.
Yeah.
I actually don't know, but it was delicious. It was a pumpkin-y type beer.
All right.
So it's delicious.
Well, I have a lot of fun trivia about Hardywood, but they've been instrumental in the Richmond beer scene. It's kind of cool. They've been like really a backbone.
Yeah.
So, anyways, before we dive too far into beer, Fiona, tell me a little bit about yourself and where you work right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm head of data at Luck Companies, as you said. I've been with Luck Companies 16 years. It's, for those who don't know what we are an aggregated mining industry in the central Virginia area, as well as the mid-Atlantic and southeast. And we're growing, which is a really cool thing. We're a fourth generation owned company. Who's been around for 100 years. We've just finished celebrating our 100-year anniversary.
That's so cool.
Last year was, so 2023,
awesome.
and we did some really great things to celebrate. But it's a great company, and it's been the same way for 100 years. So
very cool. It's a Richmond institution.
It is. It's almost like Hardywood.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you've been at Luck for 16 years. Tell me about your background and how you came into data and technology.
Accidentally, very accidentally. So my background is actually accounting. I started at Luck as an accounting specialist, a credit specialist in 2008. And then from there, I took a lot of different positions in finance. I was going to be an accountant. Got my degree in accounting while working full-time at Luck. And finished it and decided I'm not sure I wanted to be an accountant. It's
now that you've seen how the sausage is made.
It's not quite me, but there was something there. And a program came up at VCU, Master of Decision Analytics. And I was like, oh, they'll teach me how to use Excel better than I'm currently using it. And I walked in on day one and they put like Python on the table. I'm like, I don't think this is an Excel course, but we'll figure it out. And sure enough, within like a couple of weeks, I fell in love with data. I knew that's what I wanted to be.
Sure.
And I was in a really great cohort. I learned so much from the team around me.
Right.
And ever since then, data's been my world.
Gotcha. And you were a data scientist for a time at Luck, right? Was that just before you were head of data?
Yeah, absolutely. So I finished my master's degree and Luck was venturing into the world of data.
Sure.
And knew that data science was coming, and they were like, would you like the position? I was like, absolutely. And, very green, very naive. I was like, I'm going to change the world of data. and quickly got the air smacked out of me. And I was like, cool, data's not it. Data science isn't it. And it became more data engineering and data management. Right. And then I was fortunate to be under some great leadership and then be able to take a step into the role of head of data and really shape how we are using it.
Very cool. Yeah, that's a great journey. I love how you said I fell into data accidentally. That's the case for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And for me, it was sort of one of those, like, all of a sudden you realize, like, oh, everything actually is kind of about data.
Exactly.
It's sort of like the wool was removed. And you're like, oh, wait, this has been there the whole time. Exactly. I just didn't know.
Yeah. I was actually thinking back on that, because it's a common question. People are like, how did you get into data?
Yeah.
And I actually go back to when I was like 6 or 7. And I was doing encyclopedias, because if I really show my age, didn't have internet back then.
I had on the shelf, the blue books.
Yeah, you're searching for understanding of why things, and I was starting to do cluster analysis with my little pennies, like color in them, and I was like, I knew what I knew then to now.
That's right.
I really did actually fall in love with data a long time ago.
That's right. Oh, that's a good story. That's awesome. Well, what do you say we jump into our first drink here?
Sounds perfect.
Okay, so our first drink is a Richmond staple, much like Hardywood itself. This is the RVA Lager. This is a great one. I often have this on hand, so we'll give this a shot. Cheers. It's just such a reliably good beer.
Yeah, it reminds me of a beer back home.
Oh yeah.
So, this was one of the first ones I actually started with. Was one of these.
Okay, great. I do want to ask you about your background and, you know, when you came to the States and all that good stuff. So we'll get to that in just a second. First, let me share a couple of facts about Hardywood. This is good, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely.
You know, I don't always go for lagers, but when I do, I'm reminded they're just like refreshing and clean and
Nice and light.
yeah, they're good. It's a good place to start.
Easy drinker. Yes.
That's right, totally easy drinker. So, as you may remember, Hardywood was founded here in Richmond in 2011, and at the time it was only one of 2 craft breweries, which is like really hard to believe for Richmond.
Absolutely.
I think per capita,
In a whole.
we might be the most dense. I should look into that. I bet you we're right up there.
I
bet
think
you
we
we're
are
in the
right
top
up
3.
there. Yeah.
Interesting. Another historic thing is the signing of Bill SB 604 was done at the Hardywood downtown office, which is what allowed brew pubs to sell their beer directly to the public at their brew house. And that wasn't until like, I think 2014. Check my stats on that. Either way, that really paved the way for all these independent brewers to also have like a tasting room attached to the building.
Super cool. I did not know that.
Yeah. So Hardywood was really instrumental, I think, in paving the way for what is now an incredibly vibrant beer scene in Richmond.
Yeah.
Kind of cool, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't go anywhere downtown without running into a craft beer. And
Right.
It's good to know that this
It's
is
everywhere. Yeah. So kind of cool. I thought that was some pretty neat history. Speaking of history, you're from South Africa.
I am.
When did you come to the States?
So I moved here when I was 17. I could give you the year, but then people can do the math of my age. So we'll just leave it at I came here when I was 17. But I've been here a while. And my family had moved from Scotland. My background is, my family's Scottish.
Okay.
Moved to South Africa. And then I had a lot of family that married into the military.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
so they were down in Norfolk, and my mom had moved out here.
Okay.
And so I just packed my bag after I wrote my last exam, and I was like, starting fresh.
Here it is. And was it Norfolk first and then Richmond? Or?
No, it was actually Chester.
Oh, sure.
And a very small town, and nothing like what you see on the American TV. I thought I was landing in Beverly Hills, and then I landed in Chester, and quickly realized I was to the wrong coast.
That was a very different experience.
Completely different
The
experience.
America from Hollywood and then
Exactly.
Chester, Virginia. No offense to our
love
friends from
Chester.
Chester. We love it.
It raised me, yeah. So
That's awesome. Very cool. Were there any major culture shocks as you moved here, especially as a young kid?
Yeah, I definitely would say that. So obviously crime is a big thing here. But what I found different is just the relationships back home. Everything's centered around families and friends. And so you go to a restaurant and you're there for hours. The intent is to be there for hours and just be in fellowship. And then I came here and you sit down and it's like, eat and get out.
Yeah, they're kind of, hey, you all done? You ready to go? Yeah, they churn you through. Yeah.
So you just, it's not, it took a little while to get used to that. But
that is a uniquely American, like, let's eat, let's get in, let's eat, and then let's go.
yeah, you're here for purpose.
Yeah, you spend time in Europe or something and dinner lasts 5 hours.
Yes.
They'll be like, yeah, we'll eat at 7. I'm like, okay, cool. So I should get back to the hotel. You get back to the hotel like 1 o'clock.
Correct. Yeah, that's a whole night time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Good stuff. One of the things I love to ask folks who accidentally found their way to data is, if it weren't for a career in technology, what do you think you'd be doing?
The short answer would probably be accounting, because what else would I do? But honestly, I have a huge passion around helping people.
Yeah.
And so I actually still have this dream, whether I'm technology or not, is to open up a small breeds farm and allow children and families to come and just be present. So that goes back to that just being part of togetherness without technology.
I love that.
Learning about the animals and integrating. And so I just want people to be together. And
That's
so
super cool.
around 2 things I love, animals and people. And
I love that.
put them all in the same place.
You have a lot of animals now?
So currently I'm only down to 4. At one point
Only
I had
4.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I had 15 plus at one
15?
point. Yeah.
Wow.
We started with ducks and chickens and had a pet turkey. And so really just wanted to share my passion with other people. And
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Very cool. That rolls right into my next question, which was, I know you're a passionate leader and mentor, and I think you take your own education, but also others' education really seriously. That's what I've learned about you over the years.
Yeah.
What do you do to continuously learn there, and are there any maybe particular approaches you take to growing people?
I think there's a couple different things. At first, I would always tell my friends just keep being curious, right?
Yeah.
if they don't ask questions and they don't immerse themselves within the experiences that they're trying to go in, they'll never learn. And I'm a hands-on learner. I know not everyone is like that, but I still believe that you have to be part of it to understand it. And then the second part is just really know where you're going. And so we do this exercise with my team. As I say, tell me what you want to be, but don't say I want to be. I say, tell me who you. Describe me. Describe yourself as if you were that today. And then tell me how you are today. And we build a 1, 2, 3 horizon for them to get there. And we develop their plans and their development plans around that to get them to where they need to be. And then for myself, I do the same thing. So I practice what I preach. I want to make sure if I'm asking them to do it, that I do it too.
Sure.
And so as I have changed positions in IT, I'm surrounded by really smart people. You know, the older you get, or the wiser you get, the dumber you get.
I fully believe that, fully embrace that.
Constantly asking them and curious and just learning. And it's just amazing how much you learn just by asking simple questions and how much they just want to share with you.
Right.
And so from there, I just leverage the people around me to really help understand.
Yeah, I love that. Everyone's got their expertise. They've got their story they want to share.
Yeah.
And it's just there. You just have to ask.
Exactly.
I love that. That's great advice. I'm going to take a quick little segue into our next beer. You mentioned having a pet turkey.
Yeah.
Now, this is the Hokies collaboration. It's a Virginia Tech collaboration. This is the Hokies Hefeweizen. So I don't think I've actually ever had this. I've seen.
Never had this one.
Okay, well, cheers then
Cheers.
to a first beer.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That actually caught me off guard.
Yeah, I like that. The first beers I ever got into that weren't like the commercially available stuff were Hefeweizen.
Okay.
So I don't always love them now, but I always have a soft spot for them.
So what is a Hefeweizen?
That's a great question.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's a German word.
Okay.
You know what? Let's look that up
Okay.
so we get the answer right, because that's a great thing. So Hefe refers to the yeast, and Weizen denotes the use of wheat and its cloudiness. Interesting. Besides that, I'm not sure all the details, but I know it's a very spicy German beer.
Yeah, it's very delicious. I can taste the cinnamon in there.
Yeah, they do. They're very spice forward.
Yeah.
I think that's why I liked them initially, because they didn't taste like American lager, which was all I had really had.
Okay.
You know? You mentioned you've been an animal owner, you've got the menagerie.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of your hobbies outside of work.
Absolutely. I love DIY crafting, and it just goes into that long life learner.
Sure.
What I really like to use my hands. So a couple years ago, I actually built a shed from scratch.
Wow.
I was like, all right, I'm not going to go buy one. I'll just build this.
Very cool.
We'll end with that I broke 2 fingers from hammering them and had to explain to the doctor that I did that twice by myself. But we have a beautiful shed. It houses our lawnmower, and everyone is happy.
Very cool.
I really love to just be creative.
How did you approach that? Were you just like, I'm going to build a shed, and did you do a lot of research ahead of time? Or are you more of a like, I'm going to throw myself in and figure it out as I go?
I'm a bit of a researcher. So now what I'm not is like very diligent in the schematics of it, but I'm like, oh, okay, you need some 2x4s and they connect together. Now how they connect together is a different story. And our neighbor actually is in construction. Drove by and he's like, can I give you a piece of advice? I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Please
He's
do.
like, that's how you build a roof. We don't just stick 2 pieces together. So, but it just started with, I can build that. I mean, it's just 2x4s and you stick them together and it stands up. So I do a bit of research and really find what I'm looking for.
I love that. My wife says I'm fire ready aim.
Okay.
I tend to be like, if I were building a shed, I'd be like, I'm building this shed. Yeah. And then I start and I'm like, ooh, I better go do my research. I better take a step back. And she nailed it. I'm really bad at that. I'm like, I'm doing this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, good. Slow down, but I order it all and then we figure it out. It works out.
Perfect. Hey, getting back to technology, there's so much hype and buzz and marketing. How do you cut through all that wealth of information and all that noise and people, saying things, using different terminology for all things that sometimes boil down to the same? How do you cut through all that?
I mean, you just simplify it. I mean, honestly, data, to what you said earlier, has been around for forever.
Right.
We've renamed things and renamed them and renamed them. And it's when you just take it back to the essence, it's taking data, discovering through it, and then producing it. Now, at the speed to which we can do it and how we aggregate it, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And what we can do with it. So you even think about all this regenerative AI that we're talking about.
Right.
That's been around. People may not realize it, but it's been around, and we've been building these data swamps for forever to support this, and finally it's into place. And so if you just take it back to the simple steps and just try and think back to what you're comfortable with, it really doesn't, it's not as scary as it seems.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it is funny how many of the same concepts have already been talked about, thought about, and sometimes maybe a tweak in your understanding or a tweak in the marketing. Yeah, it's interesting. It's just there's so many more voices now.
Yeah, and really, and it's people who aren't even in technology who have these loud voices.
Sure.
It's marketing teams. It's big tech, not big tech companies, but big corporations who are like, yes, AI is the way of the world.
Right.
But I'm not sure they really know what they're describing. And then you have us in the data world who's like, let's tell you what you're really describing here, and how can we help you get through that.
Right,
so,
right. It's like, yes, you're thinking about maybe the right stuff, but hang on.
Yes, let's
take
slow
a step back.
Bit. Yeah.
It's fire ready aim.
Yes, exactly.
It's like
exactly
me.
What it is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm part of the problem, I think. Oh no.
A little bit. No, it's a good thing. It's good.
Okay, moving on to our next beer. This is called Hopkeeper, which is a double IPA. I don't know that I've had this either. Maybe at some points, but I don't remember. Well, let's give it a shot. Cheers. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, definitely hoppy.
Yeah, very hoppy. I've come to really like IPAs. I didn't like them at first.
What drew you to them?
Say that again?
What drew you to them?
I think they just were everywhere all the time.
Okay.
And eventually, it's almost like an acquired taste for me, I guess.
Okay.
And then I just remember one day I had an IPA from, one of the local breweries, and I kind of remember being like, maybe I don't hate this like I thought I did. I kept kind of trying to find ways to avoid them.
Okay.
I really got into dark beers for a while, and now they're just too heavy and syrupy for me. I still love them, but just a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas IPA, that's my summer beer.
Okay.
You just have a nice, refreshing IPA.
Yeah, I can definitely see it's refreshing.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like that. I like the Hopkeeper. So you've probably been to Hardywood's other location. We're at the West Creek location in the west part of Richmond. But the original location was, it's a 20-barrel brew house, and they actually built it in a vacant warehouse. And they did some research and found that it actually used to be called the German Brewing District.
Oh, wow.
So hundreds of years before it was used for brewing, and then kind of fell out of favor, fell into disrepair, and then they kind of revitalized it, which is kind of cool.
Really neat.
Yeah, pretty neat, right? So right now, Hardywood has two locations. They have the downtown Richmond area, which is a 20-barrel brew house. Now where we're at, their newest creation, this beautiful West Creek campus, which is a 60-barrel operation.
Oh, wow.
And it's a lovely spot. There's a nature preserve right back there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll grab some footage of that. And I love this. It's very near to where I live, and love this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like coming here in the summer just for being outside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's dog friendly, and there's people, and it's fun, and it's just an awesome spot.
Very community-centric.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's
Yeah.
really exciting.
And so many people come here. You wind up seeing the same people. It's always fun. I see former and current coworkers, and it's just a great time to come out here and hang out.
Yeah, it's going to reconnect.
That's right.
So.
Good stuff. We've touched a little bit on AI and data and the future of machine learning and all that stuff.
Yeah.
What are you most excited for in that space?
I'm excited about the human elements that will come from it. It's really going to optimize people in their roles.
Yeah.
And so I know people are very scared it's going to take my job, but I just see it as an augmentation. I think about all of the development and the support that it can offer the code.
Right.
I think about the human resource side and the biases it can eradicate. I think about helping financial anomalies coming out. So I just love how it can be augmented into a business as a tool versus a takeover. Right. And I think that's the part that really makes me excited about it.
I love that. Yeah, what a beautiful vision of the future. And I agree with you. All those things can definitely be true. That's great. Yeah, I think the fear of it taking over is real, and I know people feel that. But you're so right that it can even if you're angry and you write an email, maybe it can say, hey, hold on. Well, there's so many little things, so many little augmentations that it can do that we didn't have before.
Absolutely, and taking notes. Like, I know if you're in any type of business, it's like, oh, nobody took notes of that meeting.
Right.
You walk away, you forget your objectives. We're currently testing out Copilot, and how do we leverage it for our meeting notes so that we all walk away on the same sheet of music, and how productive we are going to be, and then not missing deadlines, and then just creating more engagement versus disengagement because I forgot this and now I have to go apologize. And it won't work that way.
Yeah, we've used some of those tools too, and they're very good at being like, hey, these are the 3 things you agreed to do in this meeting. Like, oh, cool, I'm glad you took that because I didn't write that down.
Correct. Or I didn't hear it even that way. I was like, okay, I didn't understand
that's a good point. That's a good point. What keeps you up at night? What has you nervous?
I just don't know if we're ready, to be quite frankly honest with you. I just... I joked about the data swamps before, and it's really exciting, but you still have to make sure that data's secure, that it's got the right access. There was a comment made earlier today at work, and it was like, different levels in the organization can query this data and get different answers. And I'm like, well, that's scary.
Yeah, that's not great.
We don't want
that. It's common, but it's not great.
It happens today, but it's just really not what we want from them. So I think we're going to have to really increase the data literacy of how to use these tools effectively, and the understanding that it's a tool to augment, but not a tool to make a decision with. And I think once we get that across the line, I think I'll sleep better at night.
Yeah, I think that's really insightful. And kind of going back to my fire ready aim, it does feel like we're like, hey, let's go all in. Mm-hmm. I do think, though, to be optimistic, I think you set the tone there, is data literacy is more and more forefront in the conversation because all these cool things have made people care about the very next level down.
Exactly.
Whereas I know, and you probably know in our career, it's hard to get people to care about, why should I care about data? Whatever, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
But it's easy to draw the connection between AI is really cool, and if our data's not good, it can be really bad.
Correct.
And so it's a really nice selling point for caring about data.
Yeah, and it's going to change the way we do business, and you want to move forward progressively, but you also got to make sure you do it the right way. And that's one of these things we want to make sure we empower the people to do it the correct way, and that they're making the smart choices.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, my next question is very much in those same lines, and I think you've already touched on this a little bit. But what are your predictions for the next 5 years? And I know, who knows, right?
Yes. I mean, I think we all saw something like this coming maybe a few years ago, but I don't think
rapidly?
Correct. And that's the part that actually, I just don't know what the next 5 years. I do know it's not going away. I think it's going to evolve. I think the job landscape is going to change, and technology is going to change, and the way we even interact as humans is going to change because of it.
I agree.
But I do think we're going to do things a lot faster than we have before. Like I was thinking about when the internet came in, and we grew with it. So we learned how to put in www, and now it's like you don't even bother with the www. Right. And I don't think we'll have that same learning curve. I think we have 6 months to really understand, and then we're going to have to figure out how to integrate this into society. Yeah, which is it's scary and it's fun. I mean, the face of work is changing between the pandemic and suddenly going remote and working that out, and then AI. Like, work is just changing. It's fundamentally changing. But I also think it's going to really help society change. Everyone is looking for that balance and the well-being aspect. And I think this is the way that we're going to get there. And I think that's what has me excited about AI coming.
That's a really interesting take. And I think similar to what you said about data literacy, talking about this stuff has made that forefront in the conversation.
Exactly.
I hadn't even thought about that. I think you're dead right about that. Okay, so moving on to our last beer. This is their gingerbread stout, but this is a special edition. It's the fluffy gingerbread stout, and it's meant to taste more like a s'more. Now, this is one of their absolute classics. I remember people lining up to buy it in days past. Now they've done a lot of different versions of it. I've never had the fluffy, so let's dig in. Cheers.
That hits you as soon as you taste it.
It's delicious.
Yes, that is.
I love that. Now, I can't drink much, so usually I'll get one little bottle, split it up, and I'm kind of good for a while.
Yeah.
It's very sweet, very heavy, but it is delicious.
It is, and it's very, I I guess being a stout is very strong,
Yeah.
but it's a good strong. Like
It's
it
really
lingers
good.
and stays in
Yeah,
people.
this is a sweater on the inside.
Exactly. Keep
Yeah.
you warm and cozy.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than drinking this sitting by a fire when it's nice and chilly out. Ooh.
Definitely a winter beer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I want to go camping and have some of this.
Ooh, I can see that. Absolutely. It's tasty.
That's a good one. On to my last question. Again, I think this is something we've touched on a little bit, but what advice would you give for someone new to technology, or maybe, you know, at an inflection point in their career where they're moving more to the tech side, as you've done in your past? What advice would you give to someone?
I would first off say embrace it. So embrace it, the parts you don't know.
Right.
Continue to be curious. Use the tools around you, use the resources, and use the people, and then get engaged. So Richmond, as you know, is a huge technology
It is.
hub,
Yeah.
and it's ever growing. And so you can't say you don't have resources around you.
Right.
Go to the conferences, immerse yourself within it, get to network and get to talk to people, because that's how you're going to learn and grow.
Yeah.
And so my whole thing is just more immersion.
That's right. Yeah. And it's available. It's
Yes.
here for you. You just got to look for it.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Fiona, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining me. It's
Yeah.
been a blast.
Thanks for having me. This has been awesome.
Absolutely. So until next time, let's toast to knowledge and connection, one episode at a time. We'll see you next time on The Data Pour.